Welcome, Class 9 students, to an exciting journey into the world of diversity in living organisms. Today, we'll unravel how scientists bring order to the incredible variety of life on Earth. Our topic is the hierarchy of classification, a brilliant system that organizes every living thing from the broadest groups down to individual species. We'll explore this fascinating structure through 4 levels: easy, medium, hard, and hardest, building your understanding step by step. Get ready to discover the secrets of classifying life. Let's start our journey with the basics. In this easy section, we'll understand what classification is and why it's so important to sort out the millions of organisms around us. Imagine trying to find a specific book in a library where all books are just thrown together. It would be impossible, right? That's why we classify. Classification is simply the process of grouping organisms based on their similarities and differences. Why do we do this? Well, with millions of different living things on our planet, studying them individually is just not practical. Classification helps us identify them, understand how different groups are related, and even explore their evolutionary journey. It's like creating a clear, organized map of life. Now, let's look at the main structure of this classification system. It's like a set of nested boxes, moving from very broad categories to very specific ones. This system was largely developed by Carolus Linnaeus. The 7 main ranks, from broadest to most specific, are kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. Think of kingdom as the biggest box, containing many different types of organisms, and species as the smallest, most specific box, containing organisms that are very similar and can even reproduce together. For example, humans belong to kingdom Animalia and our specific species is *sapiens* within the genus *Homo star. Alright, time to test your understanding of the easy concepts. Here are 3 practice questions for you. First, what is the primary purpose of classifying living organisms? Second, can you list the 7 main ranks of classification from the broadest to the most specific? And finally, which classification rank includes organisms that can naturally interbreed and produce fertile offspring? Take a moment to think about these. Good luck! Ready to dive a bit deeper? In this medium-level section, we'll explore the contributions of the father of taxonomy and get a clearer picture of each classification rank. Our journey into classification wouldn't be complete without mentioning Carolus Linnaeus. This 18th-century Swedish botanist is widely regarded as the father of taxonomy because he formalized the hierarchical system we use today. More importantly, he introduced binomial nomenclature, a 2-part naming system for every species. This brilliant idea gave every organism a unique, universal scientific name, avoiding the confusion of local common names. His work laid the foundation for how scientists worldwide communicate about different life forms. Let's break down each level of the hierarchy, from kingdom to species. Remember, as we move down this ladder, the groups become more specific, and the organisms within them share more and more characteristics. Starting with kingdom, the broadest category, like Animalia or Plantae. Then comes phylum, a major division within a kingdom, grouping organisms with a general body plan. Next, class, a more specific grouping. Followed by order, which further subdivides a class. Then family, a group of closely related genera. Genus, a group of closely related species. And finally, species, the most specific group, where organisms can interbreed and produce fertile offspring. This systematic approach helps us trace relationships. The true genius of Linnaeus's system lies in binomial nomenclature. Every species gets a unique 2-part scientific name, the genus name, which is capitalized, and the species name, which starts with a small letter. Both are italicized when typed, like *Homo sapiens* for humans, or underlined when handwritten. This universal naming convention is vital because it ensures that a scientist in India and a scientist in Brazil are talking about exactly the same organism, regardless of their native language. It eliminates ambiguity and fosters global scientific communication, making the study of diversity truly collaborative. Now, let's test your understanding of the medium-level concepts. Here are 5 questions for you. First, who is known as the father of taxonomy and what were his key contributions? Second, explain binomial nomenclature with an example. Third, how do shared characteristics change as you move down the classification hierarchy from kingdom to species? Fourth, give the scientific name for a common organism like the domestic cat and identify its genus and species names. And finally, why is a standardized naming system like binomial nomenclature so important in biology? Pause and ponder these questions. Ready for a challenge? This hard-level section will explore the deeper principles behind classification, its dynamic nature, and the modern tools that shape it. Modern biological classification goes beyond just grouping. It aims to reflect the evolutionary history, or phylogeny, of life. Organisms placed in the same taxonomic group are presumed to share a more recent common ancestor. We've moved from artificial systems which used superficial traits like habitat, to natural systems based on many morphological and anatomical features. The most accepted approach today is phylogenetic or cladistic systems which strictly classify organisms based on their evolutionary ancestry, using shared derived characteristics to build phylogenetic trees that map out life's branching history. This allows us to visualize how species have diverged over millions of years. The revolution in molecular biology has profoundly impacted classification. Techniques like DNA sequencing, especially of ribosomal RNA and mitochondrial DNA, provide powerful tools to measure genetic similarities and differences between organisms. These molecular barcodes offer objective data to determine evolutionary distances. This genetic evidence often confirms traditional classifications but has also unveiled surprising new relationships, leading to the reclassification of entire groups. It's like having a genetic blueprint that tells us the true family tree, sometimes revealing cousins we didn't even know existed, and helps us draw much more accurate phylogenetic trees than morphology alone. Classification is not a fixed, static system, it's a dynamic and ever-evolving field. New fossil discoveries, advanced imaging, and especially new genetic analysis constantly refine our understanding of life's diversity. What was once considered a single species might be split into several, or entirely new phyla might be proposed based on novel organisms or genetic insights. This continuous revision reflects the scientific process itself, constantly testing hypotheses with new data. However, challenges persist. Defining a species can be complex, especially for asexual organisms or those that hybridize. Convergent evolution, where unrelated organisms evolve similar traits, can also mislead classification based purely on appearance, highlighting the need for molecular data. Time for some hard-hitting questions. Here are 7 practice questions to test your advanced understanding. First, how does modern classification differ from older artificial systems in its primary goal? Second, explain the difference between a natural system and a phylogenetic system of classification. Third, what critical role does DNA sequencing play in modern biological classification? Fourth, why is classification considered a dynamic rather than a static field? Fifth, define convergent evolution and explain how it can challenge classification. Sixth, what is binomial nomenclature and why is it essential for global scientific communication? And finally, briefly describe 2 challenges faced by taxonomists in classifying organisms. Good luck! Are you ready to truly master the depths of classification? In this hardest level, we'll delve into the historical context, advanced concepts like cladistics, the complex species debate, and the cutting-edge role of genomics and bioinformatics in shaping our understanding of life's diversity. The journey of classification began with early thinkers like Aristotle, who proposed a ladder of nature, a linear, static view. While Carolus Linnaeus provided the essential hierarchical structure and binomial nomenclature, even he viewed species as fixed entities. The true philosophical revolution came with Darwin's theory of evolution. Post-Darwin, classification shifted from mere cataloging to actively reflecting evolutionary descent. Scientists like Ernst Haeckel then introduced phylogenetic trees, visualizing ancestral relationships and transforming taxonomy into a field that interprets the dynamic, branching tree of life, a monumental shift from static categorization to understanding evolutionary pathways. At the heart of modern classification lies cladistics, a rigorous method that groups organisms based on shared derived characteristics, or synapomorphies, inherited from a common ancestor. This approach builds cladograms, branching diagrams that precisely illustrate evolutionary relationships. Key concepts here include a monophyletic group which contains an ancestor and all its descendants, representing a true evolutionary unit. This contrasts with paraphyletic or polyphyletic groupings, which do not reflect complete evolutionary lineages. Computational tools and the principle of parsimony which favors the simplest evolutionary explanation, are used to construct these cladograms, providing a robust, engineered view of life's interconnectedness. Perhaps the most intricate aspect of classification is defining species. The biological species concept, BSC, proposed by Ernst Mayr, defines a species as a group of populations that can interbreed naturally and produce fertile offspring, while being reproductively isolated from other groups. However, the BSC has significant limitations. It doesn't apply to asexual organisms, fossils, or species that hybridize in captivity. Other concepts, like the morphological species concept based on physical traits, and the phylogenetic species concept the smallest monophyletic group, offer alternatives but also have their own challenges. The ongoing debate over the species concept highlights the dynamic and often elusive nature of speciation itself, making it a constant area of research and refinement in biology. Modern classification is fundamentally an engineering challenge, heavily reliant on genomics, and bioinformatics *. Whole genome sequencing provides vast amounts of DNA data, allowing for incredibly precise phylogenetic analysis. Specific genes, like 16S rRNA for bacteria and COI for animals, act as molecular barcodes to identify species and trace deep evolutionary relationships. Bioinformatics then steps in, using sophisticated algorithms and software to analyze these massive datasets, align sequences, and construct complex phylogenetic trees. This computational power allows us to untangle evolutionary pathways, account for genetic mutations, and even detect phenomena like horizontal gene transfer, providing an unprecedented level of detail in mapping the tree of life and impacting fields from conservation to medicine. Alright, here are your first 5 challenging questions for the hardest level. First, how did Darwin's theory of evolution fundamentally change the philosophical basis of biological classification from Linnaeus's original view? Second, explain the concept of a monophyletic group in cladistics and distinguish it from paraphyletic and polyphyletic groups with examples. Third, discuss the limitations of the biological species concept and provide an example where it cannot be effectively applied. Fourth, describe how bioinformatics tools contribute to the engineering of modern classification, specifically mentioning genomic data analysis. And fifth, detailed to distinct applications of a robust classification hierarchy in fields outside pure biology, such as medicine or conservation. Take your time to formulate comprehensive answers. And now, for the remaining 5 questions to truly test your mastery. 6th, what is the principle of parsimony in cladistics, and why is it used in constructing phylogenetic trees? 7th, compare and contrast the morphological species concept and the phylogenetic species concept, highlighting their respective strengths and weaknesses. 8th, explain how horizontal gene transfer, particularly in prokaryotes, complicates the construction of a clear, branching tree of life. 9th, beyond DNA sequencing, what other molecular techniques are crucial for modern phylogenetic studies, and what kind of information do they provide? And finally, discuss the concept of cryptic species and how molecular classification methods help in their identification, impacting fields like ecology and conservation. These questions require deep thought and synthesis of information. And that brings us to the end of our in-depth exploration of the hierarchy of classification. From the basic understanding of why we classify to the complex interplay of genomics and bioinformatics, you've journeyed through the intricate world of biological diversity. We hope this 4-level approach has enriched your understanding. Remember, the world of biology is vast and endlessly fascinating. For more such engaging and comprehensive educational content, do visit synapse.omaps.in. And if you enjoyed this lesson, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more exciting science adventures. Keep learning, keep exploring.